Captain Hana stood at the front window of the spacecraft, watching the massive station grow larger. The Galactic Council station looked like a giant wheel spinning slowly in space. Lights dotted its surface like stars. This was the moment Earth had waited for. After 20 years of sending radio signals into space, aliens had finally answered. Now Hana was leading the first human team to meet them. Behind her, the crew moved around the ship, preparing for docking. Taemin checked the landing systems one more time. He was young but careful with his work. Minji organized her medical supplies, making sure everything was ready. Hunyo tested the communication equipment. Everyone felt nervous and excited at the same time. The radio crackled to life. A strange voice spoke in perfect English, though it sounded like wind chimes. The translator was working. Good. Human vessel, you are cleared for docking at Bay 7. Please proceed slowly. Our scanners will examine your ship for safety. Understood. Thank you for welcoming us. The ship moved forward gently. As they got closer, Hana could see other ships docked at the station. They came in all shapes and sizes. Some looked like bubbles. Others had long spikes. One looked like a floating garden. Each ship was different, just like the species that built them. The docking took 30 minutes. The whole time Hana felt her heart beating fast. She kept her face calm, but inside she was worried. What if the aliens did not like humans? What if something went wrong? A soft beep told them docking was complete. The door opened with a hiss. Beyond it was a long hallway with smooth white walls. Strange symbols glowed on the walls, probably giving directions. Ready? They all nodded. Together they walked into the station. The hallway led to a large room. 3 aliens waited there. One looked like a tall bird with blue feathers and 4 arms. Another seemed to be made of floating crystals that changed colors. The third was short and round, covered in soft fur that sparkled. The bird alien stepped forward. When it spoke, the translator changed its words into English. Welcome, humans. I'm Ambassador Vrel. We are pleased to meet you at last. Please step through the scanner so we can ensure everyone's safety. A ring of light appeared in the air. It looked harmless. Hana walked through it first. The light moved down her body, then disappeared. Nothing happened. She felt fine, all clear. One by one, the crew walked through the scanner. Taemin went last, but when the light touched him, everything changed. Alarms screamed. Red lights flashed everywhere. The aliens jumped back, their eyes wide with fear. The furry one made a sound like a scared cat. The crystal alien's colors turned dark and angry. What is happening? Biological weapon detected. Threat level critical. Evacuate immediately. Taemin stood frozen, confused and scared. He looked at his hands as if they might explode. I do not understand. I am not carrying any weapons. Ambassador Vrel backed away further. All 4 of his arms were raised like shields. The scanner detects dangerous chemicals inside your body. Unstable compounds that could cause great harm. How did you bring weapons inside yourselves? Hana's mind raced. Weapons inside the body? Then she understood. The scanner must have detected their biochemistry. Their natural human chemistry. Wait, this is a mistake. We do not have weapons. What you are detecting is natural. It is just how human bodies work. The crystal alien spoke, its voice like wind through caves. Natural? You produce combat chemicals naturally? This is impossible. No peaceful species does this. Minji stepped forward carefully. As a medical officer, she knew human biology better than anyone. Please let me explain. The chemicals you detected are called adrenaline and cortisol. All humans have them. They help us respond to danger. It is our survival system. These chemicals made our sensors detect weapons-grade danger. The readings show they increase strength, speed, and pain resistance. This is military enhancement technology, not survival. Hana realized how bad this looked. To species that did not have adrenaline, humans must seem like walking weapons. Each person carried their own natural combat boost. The scanner detected these chemicals in Taemin because he is nervous. Meeting aliens for the first time made his body produce more adrenaline. It is automatic. We cannot control it. You cannot control your weapons. This is worse than we thought. Security doors started closing around the room. The aliens were sealing them in. No, you do not understand. We are not dangerous. This is just biology. All Earth animals have this system. It helps us run from predators or protect our families. Predators? Your world has creatures that hunt you? Well, yes. Earth has many dangerous animals. Humans evolved to survive in that environment. The three aliens looked at each other. They seemed to be communicating without words. Finally, Vrel spoke again. The Galactic Council will need to review this situation. You will wait here while we consult with our superiors. Do not attempt to leave this room. The aliens hurried out. The door sealed behind them with a heavy thud. The humans were alone. I am sorry. I ruined first contact. No, this is not your fault. We just learned something important. The galaxy has never met a species like us before. Species that evolved with built-in emergency systems. Minji looked worried. They called it a weapon. If the Galactic Council thinks all humans are living weapons, what will they do? No one had an answer. They sat down to wait, hoping they could fix this massive misunderstanding. Outside, they could hear urgent voices speaking in alien languages. The word that kept repeating even through the translator was clear. Danger. 3 hours passed before anyone came back. The humans sat in the sealed room trying not to panic. Hana watched the door. Temin kept apologizing until Minji told him to stop. Yunyo checked his equipment again and again, even though it was working fine. When the door finally opened, Ambassador Vrel stood there with 2 guards. The guards wore strange armor that looked like flowing water. They kept their distance from the humans. We have brought a xenobiologist to examine you. She will try to understand your condition. Another alien entered. She looked like a walking flower with petals that changed from pink to blue. Her voice was soft like rustling leaves. I am called Lisa. I study life forms from different worlds. This situation is very unusual. I have never heard of a species with internal combat enhancement that they cannot control. Minji stood up to meet her. I am Minji, medical officer for the human crew. I can explain our biology to you. We are not dangerous. Our bodies just work differently than yours. Lisa's petals turned a curious shade of purple. Please explain. What are these chemicals the scanner detected? Minji pulled up a display on her tablet. It showed a diagram of the human body. This is adrenaline. Our bodies make it when we are scared or excited. It makes our hearts beat faster. It sends more blood to our muscles. It helps us react quickly to danger. But why would peaceful beings need such a system? Because Earth is not a peaceful world. We have predators, dangerous weather, natural disasters. Our ancestors needed quick reactions to survive. Vrel interrupted from the doorway. But your readings show extreme enhancement. Strength increases. Pain resistance. This is not simple survival. This is combat preparation, Junho spoke up. Can we show you? Maybe a demonstration would help. We can prove that adrenaline is natural and we use it peacefully. Lisa and Vrel looked at each other. After a moment, Lisa nodded. Very well. We will observe a controlled demonstration, but you will be monitored at all times. The aliens led them to a larger room. It had equipment for testing and measuring. Yunyo volunteered to be the test subject. Lisa attached sensors to his arms and chest. They felt cold against his skin. These will measure your chemical levels and physical responses. Now, what will trigger this adrenaline? Minji thought for a moment. Physical exertion can do it. Or stress. Junho, try lifting that equipment case. The heavy one. Junho walked to a large metal case in the corner. It was emergency repair equipment, heavy but manageable. He bent down, gripped the handles, and lifted. The sensors started beeping. Numbers appeared on Lisa's display. Remarkable. His chemical levels are rising. Heart rate increasing. But he shows no signs of aggression or violence. Junho carried the case across the room and set it down gently. He was breathing hard but smiling. See? Just normal physical effort. The adrenaline helped me lift something heavy. Nothing dangerous. But Vrel was not convinced. That case weighs approximately 200 units. For a being of your size, that should be impossible without mechanical assistance. Yet you lifted it easily. Hana stepped forward. That is the point. Adrenaline temporarily increases our strength. It is evolution's way of helping us survive emergencies. A mother can lift a car to save her child. A person can run faster to escape danger. It is not a weapon. It is protection. Lisa's petals shifted to a thoughtful yellow. So this system activates when you perceive threat or need extra physical capability. Exactly, and then it goes away. Watch the sensors. Junho's levels are already dropping back to normal. It was true. The numbers on the display were falling. Junho's breathing slowed. He looked completely normal again. Before they could discuss further, an alarm sounded. Not the screaming emergency alarm from before. This was different. A warning tone. A voice spoke over the intercom. Hull breach in Sector 9. Maintenance team trapped. Emergency crews respond immediately. Vrel and Lisa looked at each other in alarm. Then they ran toward the door. The humans followed. In the hallway, chaos had erupted. Aliens rushed in all directions. Some carried tools, others helped injured crew members. The flower-like Lisa was trying to move a fallen beam, but she was not strong enough. There are 3 maintenance workers under there. We cannot reach them. The rescue equipment is too far away. Junho did not hesitate. He ran to the beam. It was massive, much heavier than the equipment case, but there were people trapped. People who needed help. He felt his heart racing. His muscles tensed. The adrenaline flooded his system. He gripped the beam and lifted. For a moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, the beam rose. His arms shook with effort. His face turned red. But he held it. Get them out! Other crew members rushed in. They pulled the 3 trapped aliens to safety. As soon as they were clear, Junho let the beam drop. It crashed to the floor with a massive boom. He collapsed to his knees, gasping for air. Minji ran to him, checking his pulse. He is fine, just exhausted. The adrenaline is wearing off now. Lisa stared at Junho with wide eyes. Her petals had turned a shocked white. That beam weighs 800 units. No being should be able to lift that without powered armor. Yet he did it to save our crew. The 3 rescued aliens approached slowly. They were shaking but alive. One of them, a small creature with 6 legs, spoke in a trembling voice. You saved us. We thought humans were dangerous. But you risked yourself to help us. Junho managed a tired smile. That is what the adrenaline is for. Not to hurt people. To save them. Vrel stood in silence for a long moment. His forearms lowered slowly. When he finally spoke, his voice was different. Less afraid, I see. Your enhancement system activates for protection. Not just your own protection, but others as well. Hana nodded. Yes. Humans use adrenaline to help people. To rescue others. To protect those who cannot protect themselves. It makes us strong when we need to be strong. But Lisa still looked worried. The Galactic Council will still be concerned. They will say that a system designed for protection could also be used for attack. They will want restrictions on human movement in the galaxy. Taemin, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. But we just proved we use it to help. Does that not count for something? Vrel turned to look at the young engineer. It does. But fear is a powerful thing. The Council will need more than one example to change thousands of years of thinking. They have never met a species like yours. The humans looked at each other. This was going to be harder than they thought. Showing one act of heroism was not enough. They needed to make the entire Galactic Council understand. And in the background, the station's computer was already updating its files. Human biochemistry, adrenaline response, threat assessment. The words were being written into the galactic database even now. Species human, classification unknown, biochemical weapon system active, threat level to be determined. The next morning, Hana was called to meet with the full Galactic Council. The meeting room was enormous. Representatives from 40 different species sat in curved rows. Some floated, some stood on multiple legs, others existed as clouds of gas contained in clear suits. Hana walked to the center platform alone. Her crew watched from a viewing area above. She felt very small standing there. A tall being made of crystalline structures spoke first. Its voice echoed like bells. Captain Hana of Earth. We have reviewed the data on your species. We are deeply troubled. Your people carry biological weapons inside their own bodies. This has never been seen before. Hana took a deep breath. With respect, council members, they are not weapons. Adrenaline is a natural part of human biology. It is our evolution's answer to survival. Another representative spoke. This one looked like a living tree with eyes in its bark. We have studied your world's history. You have constant warfare, violence, conflict, and now we learn you have internal combat enhancement. This is not a coincidence. Hana felt her frustration rising but kept her voice calm. Many species have difficult histories. We are working to be better. We came here in peace. A small furry creature with big eyes stood up. But how can we trust you? Your bodies automatically prepare for combat. What if one of your people loses control in our stations? In our cities? Before Hana could answer, Vrel stood up from his seat. He had been quiet until now. Council members, I witnessed something yesterday. A human used this adrenaline system to save 3 of our maintenance crew. He risked his own health to lift debris that should have been impossible to move. The crystalline being turned toward Vrel. That proves our concern. If they can do such things to save, they can do such things to harm. Vrel's feathers ruffled, but he chose to save. That is the important part. He had no reason to help us. We had imprisoned his crew, called them dangerous. Yet when our people were in trouble, his first instinct was to help. A vote was called. The council would decide if humans should be restricted from galactic space, limited to their own solar system until further study could be done. Hana watched the votes appear on the screen. More than half were voting for restriction. Her heart sank. Back in the human quarters, the crew gathered. Hyun, their diplomat, tried to think of arguments they had not used yet. Tabin, the pilot, suggested showing videos of human achievements. Sports, art, science. Minji was searching through databases. I am looking at other species biology. Maybe we can find something similar. Something that will make them understand we are not unique in having defense systems. But they found nothing. Every species in the database had evolved on safer worlds. Worlds without large predators. Worlds with stable climates. They did not need emergency response systems. Minho, the security chief, sat in the corner. He had been quiet most of the day. Maybe we are focusing on the wrong thing. Everyone looked at him. What do you mean? Minho stood and walked to the window. Outside, they could see the station's busy docking area. We keep trying to convince them we are not dangerous. But maybe we should accept that we are different. Maybe being seen as strong is not bad. Hana frowned. You want us to embrace being called weapons? No, I want us to show them that strength can be used for good. They are afraid because they see power. Let us show them what we do with that power. Dabin understood first. You mean show them recordings. Real situations where humans used adrenaline to help others. Exactly. Not sports or entertainment. Real emergencies, rescues, people saving lives. They spent the next few hours gathering footage. A firefighter carrying a child from a burning building. A civilian lifting a car off a trapped person. A rescue worker climbing through dangerous rubble after an earthquake. A parent pulling their family from a sinking car. Each video showed humans doing impossible things. Things that should require machines or many people working together. But in every case, it was one person. One human using their natural adrenaline response to save someone else. Hyun requested another council session. This time he would present the evidence. The council gathered again. They looked impatient. The vote had already been cast. Many thought this was a waste of time. Hyun stood at the center platform, honored council members. We understand your concerns. You see humans as dangerous because of our biological capabilities. But we ask you to consider not what we can do, but what we choose to do. The first video played on the screens around the room. A building was on fire. Smoke poured from the windows. A firefighter ran inside without hesitation. Moments later, he emerged carrying a small child. The child was crying but alive. The council watched in silence. Hyun continued. That firefighter's adrenaline let him ignore the heat, the smoke, the danger. It gave him the strength to carry a child to safety. This is what we use our biology for. More videos played. Each one showed similar scenes. Humans pushing themselves beyond normal limits to save others. Not fighting, not attacking, saving. But the tree-like representative was not convinced. These are selected examples, cherry-picked to show humans in a positive light. What about your wars? Your violence? Hyun did not look away. We do not deny our history. Humans have fought. We have made terrible mistakes. But we are trying to be better. That is why we are here, to join the galactic community. To learn from species who have found peace. Bora, who had been sitting with the other crew members, suddenly stood up. She was an engineer, not used to public speaking. But she could not stay quiet. May I speak? The crystalline being nodded. Bora walked down to the platform. I am just an engineer. I fix things. But yesterday, when the hull breach happened, I did not think about being human or alien. I just saw people who needed help. My body gave me the strength to move debris. That is all adrenaline is. A tool to help when help is needed most. She looked around at all the different species. You all have your own special abilities. Some of you can fly, some can change color, some can process information faster than we can imagine. Are those weapons? Or are they just the way you evolved? The room was very quiet. Finally, the furry creature with big eyes spoke softly. She makes a fair point. We judge humans by their capability for harm, but we do not judge ourselves the same way. Vrel stood again. I propose we delay the restriction vote. Give humans time to prove their intentions. Let them stay on the station. Work alongside us. If they are truly dangerous, we will see it. But if they are what they claim to be, we will see that too. Another vote was called. This one was closer. But slowly the numbers changed. Enough council members voted to delay the restriction. The humans were not accepted yet. But they were not banished either. They had bought themselves time. As they left the council chamber, Hana felt relieved but exhausted. They had won a small victory, but the real work was just beginning. They had to prove every single day that humans could be trusted. Meanwhile, somewhere in the station's computer systems, files were being created. Plans were forming. Some council members had started to think about human adrenaline differently, not as a threat to avoid, but as a resource to study, to copy, to weaponize for their own use. The danger was not over. It had just changed shape. 2 weeks passed. The humans worked hard to fit in at the station. They helped repair systems. They shared their technical knowledge. They were careful and polite. Every action was watched. Every word was recorded. Then the council called another meeting. This time, they wanted a formal demonstration. Nari, the medical officer, stood in a large testing facility. Screens surrounded her, showing her vital signs to the watching council members. Jiho, another doctor, stood nearby with monitoring equipment. The crystalline being spoke through the intercom. We want to understand the full scope of human adrenaline response. We will create various stress situations. You must respond naturally. Do you consent to this testing? Nari nodded. I consent. I want you to understand us. The first test was simple. A loud noise. Sudden and sharp. Nari jumped but quickly recovered. Her heart rate spiked on the monitors, then settled. The second test was harder. A simulated emergency. Lights flashed red. An alarm blared. A voice announced that life support was failing. Even knowing it was fake, Nari's body responded. Her breathing quickened. Her pupils dilated. The monitors showed adrenaline flooding her system. But she did not panic. She did not attack anything. She stayed calm and waited for the test to end. Jiho spoke to the council. You can see her body preparing for action. But watch what she does with that preparation. She assesses the situation. She looks for solutions. The adrenaline gives her the ability to act, but her mind controls how she acts. Lisa, the flower-like xenobiologist, was in the observation room. Her petals had turned a curious orange. This is fascinating. The system activates automatically, but conscious control remains. Most biological weapon systems override conscious thought. The third test was the hardest. A hologram appeared in the room. It looked like a young alien child crying for help. The hologram reached out to Nari. The monitors went wild. Nari's adrenaline levels jumped higher than in any previous test. Without thinking, she ran toward the hologram. The council members watched closely. This was protective instinct, the strongest trigger for human adrenaline response. Nari reached the hologram and tried to help it. When her hands passed through the image, she stopped. She realized it was not real. Her adrenaline levels began to drop. Rel spoke quietly to the other council members. Did you see? Her strongest response was to a child in danger. Not to a threat. Not to an enemy. To someone who needed help. The testing continued for hours. They tried different scenarios. Physical challenges. Mental stress. Emotional triggers. Each time Nari's body responded. Each time she remained in control. Finally, the tests ended. Nari was exhausted but unharmed. Jiho helped her sit down and gave her water. The council members discussed what they had seen. Some were impressed. Others remained skeptical. Then, without warning, the real emergency happened. The station shuddered. Metal groaned. Alarms started screaming. This time, they were not fake. A voice spoke over the intercom, urgent and afraid. Reactor containment failure in progress. All personnel evacuate Sector 12 immediately. We have 15 minutes before catastrophic breach. Panic erupted in the observation room. The council members began rushing toward the exits. But Lisa was looking at her display screen, her petals turning white with fear. There are 5 researchers still in Sector 12. They are trapped behind a sealed door. The automatic systems locked them in to contain the radiation. Vrel stopped at the door. The rescue team cannot reach them in time. The radiation levels are too high. Anyone who goes in there will die. Nari stood up, still tired from the tests, but her eyes were clear. How long can a human survive high radiation? Jiho understood what she was thinking. Nari, no.
Even with adrenaline, you cannot survive that. But Soman, another human doctor, was already grabbing a radiation suit. The suit will help.
And if we move fast, we might get them out before the exposure is fatal. Kyung, a maintenance worker, ran to join them. I know those corridors. I can get us there quickly. The three humans suited up and ran toward Sector 12. Behind them, the aliens watched in shock. They are going to die to save our people. Hana and the rest of the crew could only watch on monitors. They saw Nari, Somin, and Kyung running through smoking corridors. The radiation counters on their suits climbed higher and higher. Kyung reached the sealed door first. It was locked magnetically. He pulled out tools and started working on the panel. His hands moved fast. Faster than should be possible. The adrenaline made his fingers precise and quick. The door opened. 5 terrified aliens stumbled out. Nari and Soman grabbed them and started moving back toward safety, but the youngest alien had fallen. He was too weak to walk. Kyung did not hesitate. He picked up the alien and threw him over his shoulder. The alien probably weighed more than Kyung did. But the adrenaline made him strong. Made him fast. Made him push past the pain and exhaustion. They ran. The station shook again. Sparks flew from damaged systems. The 15 minutes were almost up. They burst through the safe zone door with seconds to spare. Behind them, containment doors slammed shut. The reactor vented its excess energy into space. The 3 humans collapsed. Medical teams rushed to help them. Their radiation exposure was severe but survivable with treatment. The 5 rescued aliens were already crying and thanking them. One kept repeating the same words, "You saved us. You did not even know us, but you saved us." Frel stood in the observation room staring at the monitors. His forearms hung at his sides. His voice was quiet when he spoke. "We have been testing them to see if they are dangerous. But the real test was not planned. When real danger came, they did not think about themselves. They only thought about saving others." Lysa's petals had turned a deep, respectful blue. Their adrenaline system pushed them to superhuman efforts. But what made them use it? Not aggression. Not violence. It was compassion. They risked death because they could not stand to let others die. The crystalline being who had been most opposed to humans spoke slowly. "I was wrong. I saw their capability and assumed it meant danger. But capability without compassion is just a tool. They have both." In the medical bay, Nari opened her eyes. She was hooked up to several machines, being treated for radiation exposure. Hana was sitting beside her bed. Was it worth it? Nari smiled weakly. 5 people are alive because we acted. Yes, it was worth it. That night, the council met in emergency session. No humans were present, but the vote was unanimous. Humans would not be restricted. They had proven themselves, not through words or planned demonstrations, but through action when it mattered most. 1 month after the reactor incident, the Galactic Council called for a formal hearing. This time it was not about restriction. It was about reclassification. Hana stood before the council again, but this time she was not alone. Vrel stood beside her. Lisa was there too. And in the viewing area, dozens of aliens who had been saved by humans watched silently. The crystalline being spoke first. "When humans first arrived, we were afraid. Our databases classified their biological systems as weapons. We saw danger. We were not completely wrong. Humans are formidable, but we were not completely right either." Another representative, one that looked like living water in a containment suit, spoke next. "We have observed humans for these past weeks. We have seen them work, seen them help, and most importantly, seen them risk everything to save our people. We cannot call this a weapon system anymore." Lysa stepped forward. Her petals were a warm gold color. "I have completed my study of human biochemistry. With permission from the human crew, I have compared their systems to all known species in the galactic database. What I found changed my understanding completely." She activated a display. Charts and graphs appeared, showing different species and their unique traits. Every species has adaptations for survival. The Vrelian people have 4 arms for complex problem solving. The crystalline can process information at incredible speeds. The Aquarians can survive in toxic environments. We accept these as natural evolution. Why should human adrenaline be different? Vrel nodded. Because we feared what we did not understand. Humans evolved on a harsh world. They needed emergency capabilities to survive. But what makes them special is not the capability itself. It is how they choose to use it. Yunji, a human scientist who had been working with Lisa, was invited to speak. She walked to the platform nervously. Working with Lisa has taught me so much. We studied the biology of many species together. What we learned is that everyone here has something special, something unique that helped their ancestors survive. Humans are not unusual in having a survival system. We are unusual only in how that system works. She paused, choosing her words carefully. But there is something I want you to understand. Adrenaline is not always pleasant. It is not comfortable. When our hearts race and our muscles tense, we feel fear. We feel stress. We push through those feelings to help others. That is what makes us human. Not the chemical itself, but the choice to act despite our fear. The council chamber was quiet for a long moment. Finally, the tree-like representative who had been so suspicious spoke. I have lived for 300 years. In that time, I have seen many species join our community. Some brought technology, some brought art, some brought philosophy. Humans bring something different. They bring the reminder that strength without kindness is meaningless. That capability without compassion is hollow. The small, furry creature with big eyes stood up. I was one of the workers trapped in Sector 12. A human named Kyung carried me to safety. He could barely walk himself, but he would not leave me behind. I do not care what your database says. That was not a weapon. That was a hero. One by one, other aliens who had been saved spoke. Each told their story. Each described how humans had helped them. Then it was time for the vote. The Galactic database needed a new classification for human adrenaline response. The crystalline being announced the options. We can classify it as a weapon system, which would require monitoring and restrictions. We can classify it as unknown, which would require further study. Or we can classify it as a biological defense mechanism, which would be accepted as natural evolution. The vote took only minutes. When the results appeared, Hana felt tears in her eyes. Unanimous. Every single council member voted for biological defense mechanism. The crystalline being's voice rang out. Let it be recorded in the Galactic database. Human adrenaline response. Reclassified from potential weapon to biological defense mechanism. Status, natural evolution. Threat level, minimal. Notable characteristics used primarily for protection of self and others, especially in emergency situations. But Vrel was not finished speaking. There is one more thing. We have seen how valuable humans can be in crisis situations. Their quick reactions and enhanced strength make them ideal emergency responders. I propose we establish a joint program. Humans working alongside our own rescue teams, learning from each other. This vote passed quickly too. Earth would send more people, not as suspects to be watched, but as partners to be welcomed. After the meeting, Hana and her crew gathered in their quarters. They had done it. They had changed minds across the galaxy, but Rena, the security chief, had a thoughtful look on her face. You know, being seen as strong is not such a bad thing. Other species will think twice before threatening Earth. We have proven we are peaceful, but now they also know we are not helpless. Minho nodded. That was always the truth. Humans are not warriors by nature, but we will fight to protect what matters. We will push ourselves beyond our limits to save others. That is not aggression. That is love. Taman, who had triggered the first alarms with his nervous adrenaline spike, laughed. So my panic attack started all of this? I guess that worked out, everyone laughed. The tension of the past month melted away. Later that night, Hana stood at the observation window again. She watched ships coming and going from the station, each one carrying different species, different cultures, different ways of seeing the universe. Lisa approached and stood beside her. The xenobiologist's petals glowed softly in the dim light. Thank you for your patience with us. We were afraid of what we did not know. Hana smiled. Fear is natural. Every species feels it. What matters is what we do after the fear. Do we let it control us, or do we learn and grow? That is wisdom. Your species will do well in the galactic community. Hana thought about Earth, about all the humans who would come after her crew. They would face challenges. There would be misunderstandings, cultural differences, but they had proven something important. Humans could be trusted, not because they were weak or harmless, but because they chose to use their strength for good. In the database systems, the final updates were being written. The entry for humans was complete now. Species, human, homeworld, Earth, biological features, advanced adrenaline response system providing temporary enhancement of physical capabilities. Classification, natural defense mechanism. Behavioral notes, strong protective instincts, highly social, tendency to help others even at personal risk, recommended roles, emergency response, rescue operations, crisis management, medical support in dangerous environments, threat assessment, low. Despite physical capabilities, this species shows consistent pattern of peaceful cooperation and mutual aid. Special note, first species encountered with internal biological enhancement that is used primarily for protection of others, rather than aggression. Valuable addition to galactic community. Status, accepted. The words glowed on screens across the galaxy. Every species would see them. Every world would know. Humans were no longer unknown, no longer feared. They were partners, friends, heroes. And if being known as the species that runs toward danger instead of away from it meant others would respect them, that was not so bad either. Back in the quarters, the crew prepared messages to send home. They would tell Earth about their success, about the doors that were now open, about the future that waited. Junho was composing his message when he smiled. You know what is funny? We came here worried about making a good first impression, worried about saying the right things. Being diplomatic, Minji laughed, and instead we just acted like humans. We helped when help was needed. We saved people when they were in danger. We were ourselves. Exactly. Being human was enough. Hana looked at her crew. They had been through so much together. Fear, doubt, danger. But they had never stopped being who they were. That is the lesson we take home. Humans do not need to be perfect. We do not need to hide what we are. Our strengths and our fears, our capabilities and our compassion, they all make us who we are. The galaxy had learned about human adrenaline, about the chemical that made them temporarily stronger and faster. But more importantly, the galaxy had learned about the human heart, about the choice to act, to help, to save. That was the real story. Not the biology, the choice. And as the station spun through space, carrying dozens of species living and working together, humans had found their place among the stars, not as weapons, not as threats, but as protectors, as helpers, as the species that would run into danger when others ran away. It was a good reputation to have, and it was one they had earned, not through words but through action. The first chapter of humanity's galactic story was complete. The database had been updated. The classification had been changed. But more important than any official record was the understanding that had grown between species. Humans were different. That was true. But different did not mean dangerous. Different meant valuable, unique, special, and the galaxy was richer for having them.